Hey Stoic warriors, welcome back to my channel. There's a man who hasn't seen his reflection in 7 years. Covered every mirror in his house with black paint. Says he's not avoiding himself. He's becoming himself. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., he stares at that black surface and asks the darkness one question. Who are you when no one's watching, not even you? This isn't about morning routines. This is about the revolution that happens when you stop performing your life and start living it. When you stop collecting motivational quotes like they're Pokemon cards and start bleeding real transformation. Scientists discovered something terrifying and beautiful. Your brain literally eats itself when you oversleep. It's called synaptic pruning. Your neurons cannibalize the connections you're not using. Every extra hour under those covers, your dreams are being digested by your own biology. Your potential is being metabolized into nothing. But here's what happens at 5:30 a.m. that nobody talks about. The world hasn't put on its mask yet. The pretense is still sleeping. The lies are still dreaming. For exactly 37 minutes after sunrise, reality exists without filters, without stories, without the collective hallucination we call normal life. The Stoics called this the hour of truth. Not because it's when you should wake up, but because it's when the universe drops its disguise. A woman in Stockholm hasn't spoken a single word before 6 a.m. in 4 years. Complete silence. She says those 30 minutes of wordlessness taught her more than 4 decades of conversation. Says she discovered that most of our suffering comes from describing our suffering. That pain without narrative is just sensation. That sensation without resistance is just experience. Epictetus was born a slave with a twisted leg, tortured daily. You know what he said about mornings? Every new dawn is a birth without a mother. Meaning, you birth yourself. No one's pushing you out into existence. You have to tear your own way through the membrane of yesterday's death, covered in the blood of your old self, screaming your way into another chance tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. while the world is still lying to itself. You could become the first honest thing in existence. You could stop being a tourist in your own life. You could cease being a rumor of yourself and become the fact. But most of you won't. Most of you will read this, feel something stir in your chest, like a caged animal recognizing the jungle, and then go back to sleep, both literally and metaphorically. Because transformation isn't actually hard. It's simple. And that simplicity is so terrifying that we complicate it with excuses. If these words are making your skin electric, if something ancient in your DNA is recognizing its calling, then prove it. Like this video, share it with someone who's dying while they're alive. Subscribe, and whatever you do, don't you dare skip what's coming next. Type these words in the comments like you're signing a contract with your own soul. I am the dawn nobody sees coming. Now, let's get into it. Forgetting who you were told to be. Everyone's trying to find themselves. That's the problem. You're not lost. You're buried under layers of other people's expectations, dressed in hand-me-down dreams, speaking in borrowed voices. At 5:30 a.m. before the world reminds you who you're supposed to be, there's a window, a crack in the matrix of identity. A neurosurgeon in Tokyo discovered something that should have made headlines but didn't. Our personality isn't fixed. Every morning for exactly 12 minutes after waking, your brain experiences identity flux. Your neural patterns from yesterday haven't fully reconnected. You're literally nobody for those 12 minutes. Free, undefined, pure potential, wearing a human costume. The Stoics knew this without MRI machines. They had a practice called morning eraser. They would wake and pretend they had amnesia, not remembering their name, their status, their failures, their successes. Just consciousness experiencing itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Every morning you are born owning nothing but your choices." He ruled an empire but woke up empireless, building his authority fresh each dawn from nothing but decisions. Here's what this actually means for you. That story you tell yourself about who you are, that narrative about why you can't, shouldn't, wouldn't, it's fiction. And at 5:30 a.m. you can write a different story. Not through affirmations or positive thinking. That's just arguing with your lies. Through amnesia, through blessed forgetting. A painter in Paris hasn't used her own name in 3 years. Every morning she writes a new name on her wrist. Today she's Electra. Tomorrow she might be Rain. She says, when you change your name, your brain literally creates new neural pathways. You're not the same person making different choices. You're a different person entirely. Her art changed. Her relationships transformed. She didn't become better. She became unrecognizable. Try this tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. Wake up and pretend you've never been disappointed. Pretend you've never failed. Don't replace those memories with success. Just delete them. Feel what your body does when it's not carrying the weight of your history. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your chest expand. That's not relaxation. That's resurrection. Seneca lost everything 3 times. His fortune, his freedom, his family. You know what he said? Every morning I lose everything again. On purpose, so that when life takes something, it's just returning what I already gave away. He practiced poverty while rich, practiced exile while home, practiced death while alive, not from pessimism, from power. When you've already lost everything in your imagination, reality can't rob you. This isn't about forgetting your past. It's about remembering that your past is just one version of events edited by pain, directed by fear, produced by a brain trying to keep you safe, not make you extraordinary. At 5:30 a.m., you can fire that director. You can cancel that show. You can premiere something that's never existed before. You without your story. Starving your ego until your soul speaks. A businessman in Berlin hasn't eaten breakfast in 1,847 days, not intermittent fasting, not dieting. He calls it feeding the wolf that wins. Says there are 2 creatures living in your skull. One that wants comfort and one that wants conquest. Every morning you choose which one gets stronger. Food makes the first one purr. Hunger makes the second one hunt. The Stoics had a word, ascesis. Voluntary hardship that reveals involuntary strength. They discovered something pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know. Hunger is the original nootropic. When your stomach is empty, your mind becomes predatory, not aggressive, precise. Like a hawk that hasn't eaten, suddenly every movement matters. Every thought has consequence. Every decision could be the difference between feast and famine. Epictetus taught his students to skip morning meals, saying, "The stomach is a slave that demands a master, but most men become slaves to the slave." He noticed something profound. When you're slightly hungry, you stop thinking about what you want and start thinking about what you need. And those are never the same thing. At 5:30 a.m., your body expects its ritual feeding. The dopamine pathways are already firing, anticipating that first hit of sugar, that coffee cascade, that carbohydrate comfort. But what if you made your body wait? What if instead of feeding your flesh, you fed your focus? There's a reason every spiritual tradition includes fasting. It's not about God. It's about meeting yourself without the medication of meals. A ballet dancer in Moscow trains every morning on nothing but water and rage. She says hunger makes her movements honest. Says a full stomach is a liar. It tells you you're satisfied when you're just sedated. She performs better hungry than she ever did happy. Not because suffering creates art, but because emptiness creates space for something greater to enter. Here's the science that will haunt you. Ghrelin, the hunger hormone, doesn't just make you want food. It literally grows new brain cells. It enhances memory. It increases pattern recognition. Your empty stomach is actually making you smarter, but you keep shutting it up with breakfast. You're literally eating your intelligence. Tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. feel that growl in your gut. That's not weakness. That's your primal programming activating. For millions of years, humans hunted hungry, built civilizations hungry, created art hungry, conquered nations hungry. But you can't conquer a bowl of cereal without checking Instagram first. Marcus Aurelius would fast before battle, not after victory. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your hunger isn't in your way. It is your way. That discomfort isn't a problem to solve. It's power to channel. When you're empty, you can finally hear what's been screaming beneath the static of satiation. Your real purpose, unfed and furious, demanding to be released. Making the world orbit your morning. Physics says massive objects bend space-time around them. The heavier the object, the stronger its pull. Your morning routine isn't just a sequence of actions. It's a gravitational field that pulls your entire life into its orbit. Weak morning, weak gravity. Everything drifts away. Strong morning at 5:30 a.m. You become a black hole of intention that nothing can escape. Scientists studying circadian rhythms discovered something that sounds like science fiction. Your body temperature at 5:30 a.m. is exactly 2.7 degrees lower than your daily average. That's the same temperature differential that creates hurricanes. You're literally a weather system waiting to happen. A pressure differential that could generate storms or stay stagnant. The choice happens in those first 3 minutes of consciousness. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "What we do now echoes in eternity." But eternity doesn't start after death. It starts when your alarm detonates. Every morning, you're not just choosing your day. You're voting for your reality. And reality counts votes in a currency called consistency. Miss one morning and the universe recalibrates its opinion of your seriousness. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filtering mechanism, processes 11 million bits of information per second, but only allows 40 bits into conscious awareness. At 5:30 a.m., this filter is completely resetting. For approximately 8 minutes, you can reprogram what your brain considers important. This isn't mindset. This is mechanical. You're literally adjusting the aperture through which you experience existence. The mitochondria in your cells, the power plants of your biology, multiply in response to stress. Specifically, the stress of early morning movement. Every push-up at 5:30 a.m. doesn't just build muscle. It builds cellular factories. You're not getting stronger. You're becoming more industrialized at the microscopic level. Your body is either building an empire or accepting colonization by comfort. There's a phenomenon called quantum entanglement where particles remain connected across infinite distance. Change one, the other responds instantly. Your morning is quantumly entangled with your night. The quality of your 5:30 a.m. determines the depth of your 10:30 p.m. They're not separate events. They're the same event experienced 12 hours apart. The Stoics knew something about time we've forgotten. It's not linear. It's circular. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Your morning doesn't start when you wake up. It starts when you decide the night before who you'll be when consciousness returns. The person who sets the alarm and the person who responds to it are in negotiation. Make sure the right one wins. Your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain, is most susceptible to influence in the first hour of waking. This is when you install new software or let the old programs run. At 5:30 a.m., you're not just awake. You're administratively privileged in your own operating system. You have root access to your own programming. Most people never use it. They live their entire lives as users in their own minds, never accessing administrator mode. Waking the wolves in your DNA. Your genetic code contains 3 billion years of survival instructions. Every cell carries the memory of ancestors who fought saber-toothed cats, survived ice ages, built fires in darkness. At 5:30 a.m., your DNA doesn't know about your comfortable bed. It thinks you're still being hunted. That spike of adrenaline when your alarm explodes. That's not anxiety. That's your hereditary warriors preparing for battle, confused why you keep surrendering to fabric and foam. Epigenetics proves that trauma changes genetic expression. Your grandparents' struggles literally altered the proteins wrapped around your DNA. But here's what they don't advertise. Triumph does the same thing. Every morning you rise before necessity forces you. You're rewriting your genetic legacy. You're not just changing your life. You're changing the lives of humans who don't exist yet. The vagus nerve, your body's longest nerve, connects your gut to your brain, carrying more information upward than downward. Your stomach is literally trying to think for you. At 5:30 a.m., this nerve is hypersensitive, translating every physical action into mental state. Stand tall immediately, and your brain believes you're dominant. Slouch back into bed, and it believes you're prey. Your posture is programming your psychology in real time. Telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes, shorten with stress but lengthen with purposeful challenge. The difference? Cortisol released from fear versus cortisol released from chosen difficulty. When you wake at 5:30 a.m. by choice, you're literally extending your life at the chromosomal level. When you wake from necessity, you're dying faster. Same chemical, different story, opposite outcome. Your ancestors didn't have motivation. They had survival. The same neurochemicals that made them run from predators are making you run from potential. But at 5:30 a.m., before modern safety dulls these instincts, you can access what anthropologists call ancestral consciousness, the raw, unfiltered operating system that built civilizations from mud and willpower. The pineal gland, what ancient mystics called the third eye, releases maximum melatonin in darkness. But something more interesting at dawn. Tiny amounts of DMT. The same compound that floods your brain at birth and death. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., you're microdosing the chemical of transformation. You're literally tripping on possibility. But most people sleep through their natural high. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than reality." But imagination is biological. The amygdala can't differentiate between visualized danger and actual danger. When you imagine yourself powerful at 5:30 a.m., your body produces the same testosterone, the same growth hormone, the same neural patterns as actual power. You're not pretending to be strong. You're manufacturing strength through mental alchemy. Your microbiome, the trillion bacteria in your gut, completely shifts based on wake time. Early risers have different bacterial colonies than late sleepers. You're not just changing your schedule at 5:30 a.m. You're changing your internal ecosystem. You're selecting for organisms that thrive on discipline rather than those that feed on chaos. Practicing your final morning while you still have more. Someday you'll wake for the last time. Statistics say it'll probably be a Tuesday, probably in winter, probably at 4:47 a.m. Your brain, starved of oxygen, will flood with DMT, the spirit molecule, creating a sensation of timelessness in your final moments. Every morning at 5:30 a.m. is a rehearsal for that ultimate awakening. Not morbid preparation, but the opposite. Learning to die properly so you can finally start living. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, but missed the biochemical truth. Your brain releases the same neurochemicals contemplating death as experiencing it. When you wake at 5:30 a.m. and acknowledge your mortality, you trigger what scientists call mortality salience. A state where everything becomes vivid, valuable, unbearably beautiful. Colors look different to people who know they're temporary. Your hippocampus, the brain's memory center, consolidates important experiences during sleep, but decides what's important based on emotional intensity. Every mundane morning gets deleted. But wake at 5:30 a.m. with the awareness that you're dying because you are, at the rate of 50 million cells per second, and suddenly every morning becomes archived as significant. You're not just living more, you're remembering more. The terror management theory proves humans do extraordinary things primarily to deny death. Every achievement, every relationship, every creation is essentially us screaming, "I was here," into the void. But at 5:30 a.m., in that liminal space between dream and day, you can stop running from endings and start running toward beginnings. Same effort, different direction, infinite difference. Your cells practice death constantly. It's called apoptosis, programmed cell death. It's not failure, it's function. Without it, you'd be cancer. Every morning, billions of your cells choose to die so you can live. At 5:30 a.m. you can align with this cellular wisdom, killing the parts of you that no longer serve, making space for what needs to emerge. Marcus Aurelius kept a death journal, writing each morning as if it were posthumous. "I have died," he would begin, "and now I watch this living man use my remaining hours." This dissociation isn't depression. It's liberation. When you're already dead, you can't die again. When you've lost everything in imagination, reality becomes pure profit. The near-death experience survivors all report the same revelation. Life isn't about what you achieved, but about your level of consciousness while achieving it. Were you awake or automatic, present or performing? At 5:30 a.m., you get to practice being fully conscious, fully alive, fully aware that this morning, this exact morning, will never exist again. Your bones know they're temporary. Your blood knows it's borrowed. Every atom in your body has been part of stars, stones, strangers. At 5:30 a.m., you can feel this impermanence, not as loss, but as liberty. You're not a fixed thing. You're a temporary arrangement of eternal materials. Today's arrangement will never repeat. Tomorrow's isn't guaranteed. Music. Everything I've told you is worthless if you wake up tomorrow at 5:31 a.m. 1 minute late is a lifetime lost. Because transformation isn't about the hours. It's about the decision, the precise, violent, beautiful decision to stop negotiating with your potential. The Stoics are dead. Marcus Aurelius is dust. Seneca is silence. Epictetus is earth. But every morning at 5:30 a.m., their ideas resurrect in anyone brave enough to practice them. You don't read philosophy, you become it. You don't study Stoicism. You embody it. Or you stay in bed dreaming about the person you could have been. Tomorrow morning when that alarm detonates, you have exactly 3 seconds to decide. Comfort or conquest, sleeping or seeking, the warm grave of your bed or the cold birth of your becoming. 3 seconds to join the 5:30 a.m. revolution or remain in the refugee camp of regret. Your ancestors are watching. Not metaphorically, genetically. In your DNA, 1,000 generations hold their breath, waiting to see if their struggle meant something, if their survival produced surrender or something sacred. This isn't motivation. This is war. And wars are won in the morning before the enemy expects attack. Your enemy is entropy, the force that wants you average, asleep, accepting. At 5:30 a.m., you can strike first. Like this video if you felt your DNA activate. Share it with someone who needs resurrection. Subscribe to this channel. Comment below with your war cry. Final command for the comments. 5:30 a.m. The revolution will not be snoozed. Tomorrow you either wake up or wake up. Choose wisely. Choose wildly. Choose now.